But I picture
Yeah.
your dog Isla just commenting on how beautiful she is all the time.
All she's doing, feed me, feed me, feed me.
I'm beautiful. Feed me. And then there's a broken like sign language pad.
Hello, I'm Mark,
I'm Justin,
and we're the J-Pops.
and we are attempting parenting in Japan. Welcome everyone to episode 3. Today we're going to cover a few things like clutter and like a few maternity apps, or I guess parenting apps that we know of. But first, I thought we should update everyone on our baby statuses, on the little
Nice.
fetus statuses that we have. So, Mark, you had an appointment recently, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We went on Tuesday. I say we. I mean, I sat in the car, and my wife went inside and had an appointment. But it went pretty well. At that point, we were at, I think that was exactly 19 weeks. And
Cool.
So they did the ultrasound, and we were really hopeful that we were going to get the gender at that point. But we did not. They they told us the baby was kind of in the wrong position, and so it was a little bit hard to see. They said they kind of think it's a boy.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not exactly sure, just because it could be umbilical cord, and they don't want to make us think one thing and then come back in the next couple weeks and it's something else.
Yeah. What we learned in that process was that if it's a girl, then there's like some uncertainty, because they say, well, it could be a boy, but he could be obscuring or the position's not right. But then
Yeah.
if they come out and say it's a boy, it's like, oh yeah, we know for sure it's a boy. We have seen the evidence and it's a boy.
Yeah. And they gave us a recording of the whole ultrasound thing. I don't know if they do this for you when you guys go, Justin, but we get it on a little USB drive at the end.
Yeah, we I think I might have mentioned, they my wife will go and just take a video on her phone of the ultrasound. So like video of a screen, and it's always pretty clear, it's pretty fine. So, but we don't get like the original file or anything.
We get both. Moe does the video as well, just in case, because we had a hiccup one time where they just messed up the file. But they also, this time it was good, and they did give us a file. And so I had this thing afterwards, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to figure this out. I can see this thing. And I'm going back and forth. And I was like, is this a story I want to tell my kids later when they're older? I was like, I spent like a good half an hour trying to find your junk.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hilarious. It's always good for a story. But then you realize, oh, this is one of the things that will shame and enrage my child when he's like 12 or 13 years old and this story comes up again.
Yeah, maybe. So if they ever listen back to this, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I might have told this in a previous episode. We've had, a total of 3 episodes now, and I'm losing track of what's been said and what's not been said. But with us, it was really funny. It's going to be a boy, by the way. It was really funny because the child was in perfect position and proudly showing the fact that he was a boy. And so there was no doubt about it whatsoever. And every single time we've done an ultrasound, it's been that same case. It's like, looky here, everybody. It's like, it's so obvious. But the child consistently covers his face up with his hands. And so, they can do what they call a 4D pic, which is like some special cool ultrasound. And you get sort of like the look of the face or something. It's very detailed. But we cannot get one of those because the kid's hands are always like pressed up against his face, or he's covering his face with his arms or something. So we cannot see the face. Yeah, he's a shy boy, but like south of the equator, he is letting it all hang out. He's proud of it. But the nurse on that first appointment, now I guess it's been a month or two ago, when they confidently said, "Oh, this is going to be a boy." It was very strange because the nurse said, she was like, "Oh, here's the butt," and my wife's videotaped this, so I'm hearing the nurse's explanation. Here's the butt, and she's like circling it with the cursor. She's like, "Oh, and here's the left leg. Good. Oh, here's the right leg, and there's something. It seems like he has something's there," but she wouldn't come out and say it. And I don't know if this is a modesty on the part of the nurse or if this is, like, maybe they don't wanna just tell you, they want you to have the enjoyment of discovering it for yourself. Um,
Hmm.
but they wouldn't actually say, they would just, like, sort of circle on the screen with the cursor and then let you draw your own conclusions. But yeah,
Interesting.
we finally realized, "Oh, yes, we get it, it was a boy."
I'm a
Yeah.
little surprised they didn't come up with a different word for it altogether.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the Japanese that they used in that moment was, "arimasu, arimasu," which means in English just, oh, it has, or have, it's just the verb have. So something is being had.
Yep,
There is
yep.
some object here that is had, and, it's just the most vague way of saying, like, "Hey, that's a
It's
boy.
there. It's
Look at
there.
look at those balls and penis," and they wouldn't come out with it.
I'll be sure to ask Moe when she goes next time because I'm fairly certain they'll be able to tell one way or another in the next, I think, 3 weeks when she goes back.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'll ask her to look out for that and see how they say it.
Yeah, so they it could I bet it's just down to the nurse, and, it's probably how this nurse handles it. It could be kind of a cool thing, like, let the mother do the discovery
Yeah,
herself. Yeah, so
yeah.
that might be nice little bit of bedside manner. You could have a nurse who's just like, "Oh, yeah, totally boy, later," it could be as simple as all that.
Yeah, very true.
But yeah, we're at 26 weeks, I believe, right now, and then we've known it was going to be a boy. I mean, for at least I would say a couple of months now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it feels like it. I think you told me about it a while ago. We're at 19 weeks and 3 days now,
Hmm.
and so I feel like we're right about that point where we should be finding out.
Yeah.
But I guess it was just a little too soon and a bad position.
We had an appointment ourselves just a few days ago, and it's one of those sort of like no news is good news. For podcasting purposes, there's not a lot to report, but everything's like, developing well. Everything that they track, like the weight and the amount of fluids and all this, they said these are good. And there was really nothing much to report other than like clean bill of health. So that was nice.
That's always good to hear, though, in that area. No news
Absolutely.
is the best news.
Do you want to get on into a couple of segments here if you're ready
Yeah,
to go?
so we wanted to talk about cluttering and kind of piggyback on the planning that we talked about a bit last week, but get a little bit more into the weeds in it.
Yeah. So clutter, I'm sure you've got some strong opinions on this or that you've noticed it. And it's just basically that in Japan, the standard of the house is cluttered. And it's just like culturally, people aren't afraid to pile up a bunch of boxes in the living room and just live this way. And there are people like
Yeah.
this in the US, but I think it's more of a norm in the US. And maybe it's a space thing that's just, houses are bigger and broader and everything. A broad house, does that make sense? Houses are more spacious.
That's a stout house there.
It's a stout house. Oh boy. It's big boned. But they have there's just more closet space. There are basements, there are
Yeah.
attics, and you can tuck things away. And my wife always says this, that when she goes into an American house, she's like, "Oh, it looks like it's in a magazine. Like everything's just in the right place and clean, and there's so much room." And in Japan, I mean, a lot of it is down to houses are built sort of on narrow plots of land. So you've got tight rooms, tight hallways, not a lot of storage, and then you just pile up all your crap.
I think more than just that, though. I think houses in Japan are kind of designed for summer mostly, so they don't have a lot of nooks and crannies where mold can go.
Hmm.
And I think people have just like become accustomed to keeping stuff out so it doesn't get moldy and then it's always just there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it. And we've talked about this before that it's very interesting that kind of the Japanese aesthetic in like, presenting food, for example, or a piece of art maybe is like often very minimalist and very pure and simple colors and like this elegant design, and it just fully runs counter to what you encounter in a lot of Japanese homes, at least by sort of the Western standard.
Yeah, for sure.
So clutter is kind of the norm. So then the worry is you're about to have a kid and you're about to receive, I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds of new things, be they sort of pieces of clothes or toys or books or whatever it is. And then the clutter seems inevitable. So, do you have
Yeah.
any strategies, or what do you think it'll be like at your house?
I have a couple strategies for this, and most of them involve building closets and building new storage areas into my house. We recently renovated our house, and I intentionally left the guest slash kid bedroom a little bare. I didn't put any closets in it. I didn't put any chest of drawers or anything because I didn't know how the space would ultimately be used or what I wanted to do with that. And so now that we do have a kid coming and I can kind of see the items that they're going to get, the toys, the clothes, I can kind of better visualize what kind of storage I want. So, yeah, I'll definitely be building more storage into that room. And then downstairs we're going to put in a couple like changing station and that kind of thing. So, we'll have sections that are for decluttering, but I think ultimately it's just going to add to it and it'll look a little busier.
Let's backtrack a little bit and flesh out your house a little bit more, because you took the like kind of the unconventional route of buying a home. You bought it was officially a machia, right? Which is sort of a
No, no,
oh,
not a
not a machia.
matia. Just an akia, which
Yeah, okay.
loosely translates to just unoccupied house.
Hmm.
A lot of people think it's abandoned, but well, I guess in a sense it's abandoned, but the owner just didn't know what to do with it, was living in another house and just had it there. So it was kind of well maintained, but it was nobody had been living in it for like 12 years, I think.
Wow. And
Yeah.
the house that you got, it's out in sort of the countryside. I mean, especially by Japanese standards, it's the
Yeah.
countryside.
Yeah, definitely. Right behind my house is a rice field. On another side of my house is a rice field. And I have like two neighbors, but they're not close at all.
Yeah, it really, to me, I've been to your house several times, and it puts me in mind of sort of the countryside in Kentucky where I'm from, where it's like, just dotted with houses, but mostly field out there. It's that
Yeah.
kind of a vibe. It's a far
Yeah.
cry from the big city life that you
Yeah,
picture in Japan a
definitely.
lot of the time. But the house that you got was enormous. What was the initial, like, sort of classification of the house? Like an 8 DK or something like that?
11 DK.
Wow. So, for people who don't know
Yeah.
the Japanese method of measuring a house, that's like 11 rooms plus a dining room and a kitchen.
Yeah, but I should kind of clarify that when they count rooms, there's literally no hallways between them. In most of
Mm.
the cases, the rooms they're counting are essentially the hallways. So
Okay.
we would have on the first floor, we had what they counted as, I think it was seven on the first, yeah, seven on the first floor. But along one path, there was just like four rooms lined up that you could just easily look at and go, oh, that's a room. But they're like,
Mhm.
no, no, there's a divider. That's two rooms.
Yeah, and maybe you could, like, pop some doors, like some paper doors in between,
Yeah.
and then that
Yeah.
would, yeah, divide them into technically 2 rooms. But
Yeah.
the 11 DK is, I mean, just, like, square footage-wise, is pretty massive, and you guys went in and gutted it down to practically just a skeleton, right? And then sort of remodeled it to, totally
Yeah.
redesigned the layout and everything.
Yeah, I had a ton of fun destroying that house. I
Mhm.
had maybe 6 months before we even found a renovation company to come in. We had gotten one of those giant dumpsters delivered to our land, and I was just like breaking walls, throwing it out the window. And then eventually I just had it where it was just basically poles holding up the house. And it was kind of scary.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't they have even the building company came in and sort of put some bracing in, and they were like,
Yeah,
"Okay."
yeah, the renovation guy came in, he looked at it and he's like, "Oh no, this is unsafe." He's like, we hadn't even hired him at this point, but he came in and he's like telling his workers, he's like, put some bracing over here, put some bracing over here. This house is gonna fall down."
And now
So
you have built back better, and
yeah,
and you've got,
safer.
like, a lovely home, and,
Thank you.
you've really designed it, like, I mean, it's wonderful. It's a great, great place.
Thanks.
And, so when you say, like, about the kids' room that you'll build extra closets or build storage, you really mean you're gonna get in there and put up new walls and build things physically to the house.
Yeah, I have a plan to maybe build a wall to divide the guest slash kids room if we have more kids and if they feel like more privacy later on. But
Mhm.
right now, it's just like a giant room that's open.
It's great that you have the ability to do it. I have no such luck in this house. I just rent this house, so
Right.
obviously I'm not going to do any massive renovations. We're always on the house hunt. We've been looking for a house for 2 years, and that's a totally separate story. But we would like to move into another place, so we've got a lot of things are up in the air. You know, do you really plan a baby room in the house that you're trying to move out of and hoping to move out of before the baby even arrives? So
Right.
we've kind of got like 1 foot in this house and 1 foot out the door. But so it's hard to make such plans like what you guys have going on. So I think our plan right now is just absorb all of the stuff that's coming our way, like baby clothes wise and baby gear wise, and then kind of pile it up in the
Hmm.
traditional Japanese household style. And then at the next place that's really our home, we will sort it out and organize it better then.
Does the house you're in right now have a lot of closet space in it? I know some places have those big futon closets.
Yeah, we have a fair amount of closets, I would say. It's adequate.
So it doesn't have to like overflow into the room, whatever you're getting.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where my wife and I have lived here for maybe 8 years, like no baby at all, and then all of the closets have become full in that time. So we always feel at capacity, and now
Yeah.
we're like introducing a whole new roommate who's going to need their own stuff and storage. So yeah, we'll undoubtedly have piles of things.
That actually might be a reason for me to build a smaller room or put like another two walls in. Because I did notice that when we moved into our house, like we didn't have a lot of stuff. We had an apartment amount of stuff.
Hmm.
And within maybe 6 months, I think our house was full.
Yeah,
So you quickly expand. And I think that goes for kids stuff too. If I give them a bigger room right out of the gate, like it's just gonna be like a crap load of stuff. So
yeah.
maybe I should make them a smaller room to start.
Yeah, then you can very quickly default to the excuse of, "Well, we just don't have room for that,"
Yeah,
and
no
cut it
space, no
off.
space.
Yeah. That's one way to go for sure, and the best way to go, I imagine. But, your wife is, like she's notoriously very, very clean and organized.
Yeah, she has always had a specific day of the week that is just a cleaning day where she
Wow.
just likes to tear whatever it is that she's living in apart and just clean it to the core. And then that's kind of like her relaxation, her unwinding.
That's amazing. That's
It
wonderful.
is. It is, except if you want to do something or you're planning something, and then it definitely gets in the way of cleaning day.
Cleaning day takes precedence.
Yes, of course.
Man, that it's a good problem to have, though.
I'm not by any means a dirty person. Like I would consider myself a fairly clean person, and she puts me to shame. I can't keep up
Wow.
with her. She yells at me all the time, like I don't vacuum enough, and I'm like, that's because you vacuum above my standard.
Yeah, exactly. Man,
But
that's
yeah,
that it's wonderful though. It's a really good way to live if you've got that discipline. She sounds like she was in the military for years or something. Like all of her clothes are hanging up in a perfect line in the closet and everything.
no, I think she's just always been tidy. Always
Yeah.
enjoyed having clean things.
Yeah, that'll be good. It'll be interesting to see like kind of the what do you call it? Like the ultimate force meeting the immovable object of
Yeah,
her cleanliness versus baby and
yeah.
to see who wins that.
It'll be her.
Okay, she'll win it. She's the ultimate force.
Yep, I have faith in her.
Well, I wanted to talk about a couple of apps that I've noticed. If anybody's, expecting a child, then there are numerous apps out there that you can use to sort of, I don't know, help you track the progress of the fetus and that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely. It's a good idea.
yeah, I don't have any in English, and I don't have any on my phone at all. My wife has a couple of them that she uses, and she shows me things. And I thought these were kind of interesting. And it's like, I don't know. I have my only experience with babies in the house is that I have two younger sisters, and when they were born, I was a bit older, and so you kind of go through this, oh, new baby in the house, and let's take care of the baby, and let's learn and do things to support this baby. And so that all happened well before smartphones were invented. So I've
Yeah,
never conceived of like new baby in the house plus, oh, there's this app that's taking you through it. And
yeah,
so this is all like totally new stuff to me. But my wife has a couple of apps. One is called Ninaru, and that's in Romanji or just in the alphabets, like Ninaru, Ninaru.
Is
And
that just a name or does that mean something?
oh, no idea. Absolutely no idea. But she's a Ninaru user and fan, and the nice thing about Ninaru is like you enter your due date, and then it sort of on the main screen of the app, it shows you what the fetus is looking like in kind of an animation. So you've always got a sense of like how the baby's developing, and it tracks the weeks at the top. But then also for whatever week you're on, Ninaru goes ahead and like outlines your plan of what you should be doing and what you should be buying, and kind of so that you'll have all of this stuff that you need by the time the baby's born. It's like, oh yeah, this is a good week to buy A, B, and C. Go ahead and get that, tuck it away, and you'll need that later. So you can go into checklists of things that you need. There's little tips and advice, and then also you can visually kind of track what the baby's looking like. That's
That's
all
great.
in Japanese, of course, but it's really interesting to follow. Does your
Yeah.
wife have anything like any of these apps?
I think she has the same one actually.
Hmm.
And I did just Google it, and Nidaru means to become
Oh, of course, yeah. If the
or
knee,
becoming.
if that's what they're referencing there, the naru is become, and then ni is the
Yeah.
preposition. Or if you want to get grammatical, it's technically a postposition.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, ni something ni naru is to become whatever that thing is that you've said first. So
Mm,
yeah, becoming, that makes sense.
yeah.
Well, there's another app that my wife uses, and this one kind of blows my mind. It's called Maternity, but this is in katakana, so it's technically maternity, and there's a little plus sign after it, so it might be maternity plus.
Oh, I think actually that's the one my wife has too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Our,
Yeah.
our wives are good friends, and I think they share most of this stuff, so they probably are all on the
Yeah.
same apps. But Maternity Plus is the main feature of Maternity Plus is you enter, of course, like the number of weeks pregnant you are, and then like in this digital 3D interactive model, it shows you what the fetus looks like at that time, and
Wow.
so you can get in there and zoom, you can spin, you can check out all the angles of the fetus and see the little face and everything. And of course it's not based on what you look like, but it's like this is how the development's going. And you can choose the race of the fetus. So
Huh.
if you want to go, they don't have mixed races, but you can look at the white one, look at the Asian one, go back and forth, kind of blend them in your mind. Or who are we kidding, just or like ultimately just choose the Asian one, because that tends to be the, I don't know if you think this as well, but it seems like my wife always says like the Asian DNA is strong, and the kid's gonna have black hair. The kid's gonna, from our perspective anyway, it's gonna have a lot of the Asian characteristics. So we stick to the Asian baby on
Gotcha.
maternity.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I just hope that my blue eyes are stronger than whatever.
Oh, interesting. You'll
Yeah.
have the only blue-eyed kid in his class.
I've seen a couple blue-eyed kids in Japan. It's rare, but
Yeah,
I'm crossing my fingers.
yeah, very rare. I think on the Japanese license, they don't list eye color because it's just assumed your eyes will be dark.
That
And
makes sense.
yeah, there's no reason to. So I've shown my American driver's license to some people, and they're like, "It says eye color? What? Why? Oh my god!" It's like a big surprise. But yeah, so the thing about it though, the maternity app, and it's really it's crazily interactive. Like say you can picture the fetus at like 20 weeks, 25 weeks, where it weighs like a pound or something.
Hmm.
But when you zoom, if you sort of touch the computer generated image of the fetus, if you touch it, then the little animation will respond to what you've done. And
Oh, weird.
yeah, it's a creepy little interaction because you're dealing with a baby that is way too small to be like interacted with in real life. But you touch his arm, and then his little arm will like jump over to the side, or you touch his leg, and he'll kick a little bit.
Isn't
And
that like the old like Tamagotchi
yeah,
toys that you...
it's in some next level Tamagotchi. I think they raised kids on Tamagotchis in the 90s, preparing them for the Maternity Plus app.
And I
It
did just age myself by saying that.
Yeah, exactly. By having the Tamagotchi reference right in the holster, yeah, we can tell how old you are exactly.
Yeah.
But the one that blows my mind though, you can touch the little baby's face, and the baby smiles, and it's kind of creepy to me.
That sounds a little creepy.
It's cute in its way, but it's also a little bit creepy if you think like this baby is so tiny. But here's what's amazing is you can rewind the clock and you can go back to the early days of the pregnancy and you can get like week 5, week 6 or something. And for all intents and purposes, a fetus at week 5 looks like a sea creature. I mean,
Right.
it looks like a seahorse or
Yeah.
something. And it's like a shocking look, you know, like you couldn't really differentiate between like a fetus of a human or a fetus of a, you know, any other mammal at that age. It's just
Mm.
like a little sea creature looking thing. And but you can still touch the 5-week sea creature and interact with it.
No.
Yeah, and it blows
Don't
my
do
mind,
it.
but yeah, you touch it and it looks exactly like it would look, and you touch it and then it like sort of wiggles or something.
Oh, no.
This should not be happening. It's alarming, and I think they need to draw a line, like, say, maybe after, like, 6 months, "Okay, let's put in the smiles and let's make it react," but
In
it's
app development, you usually have this point where you're like, all right, what features do we need? What don't we need? And whoever cross-checked this one should lose their job.
yeah, it's pretty weird, but it's also somehow like, when you do the zoom and the spin and the touch and you get the little smile and everything, you really feel like there's this connection, you know, because you've like sort of like as best you can, you've matched the race and you've like, you know, put in your weeks and you feel like that's a representation of your baby. And so it is nice, but yeah, they didn't draw the line properly to me
Yeah.
and it kind of freaks me out.
I'm sure a lot of parents do really enjoy that, though.
Yeah. Oh, for
Like, it's
sure.
probably one of their most used features.
Yeah, I like it too. I would recommend it for sure, just like the experience. And then it's not Maternity Plus is not only that, that's just one of the things. You can kind of dive into that 3D model. But Maternity Plus has a lot of the features of Ninaru as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, Ninaru keeps it a little more like minimalist, like animated style. So it's not as alarming in that way. But anyway, apps, go download them.
Yeah, they are useful.
Yeah, I don't have any like parenting apps. Mark, any apps?
No, I haven't thought about even downloading any yet.
Yeah, I haven't gone into it at all, but my wife's doing the apps and we look at them kind of together, so I feel like the base is covered.
Yeah, I'm kind of going old school with just the books right now. I'm still diving into the what to expect books and kind of just reading those most of the time.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. But yeah, that's all I've got on app recommendations.
Let's get into my question for you now.
Yes, let's do it.
So I did come up with a question for you. So my question for you is, what family traditions did you have as a kid that you want to keep doing or that you didn't have and that you want to start? And
Wow.
I don't mean holiday traditions. And I'm not talking like everybody went to here on Thanksgiving or we all opened presents at 5 a.m. on Christmas. No, I'm talking like just like average around the house stuff. Like Saturday night was movie night. We all got together. We watched a movie. It was cool. That kind of thing.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take a time out and rack my brain for some traditions. My mind went to a couple of holiday ones, but yeah, like more personal things. Do you have any that you've got loaded up
I
that
do. I
might
do have
jog
some.
my
Yeah.
memory?
That's okay. No pressure. This is a harder question. I've asked a couple people this question so far, and it's a harder question than you realize it is.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't. I mean, there must be some things, but when you look back on it, it's hard to identify because it was just the norm. Okay.
So when I was a kid, we didn't have many like weekly traditions that we followed or that we did. A lot of weekends though, I would play board games with my mom. And so that was kind of the thing that I did growing up a lot. And so I really got into board games. Aside from that, we didn't have any kind of like standard days where, we do this or that. So I want to start doing that with
Mhm.
my kids. One of the things I want to do is make like, and this may sound dumb, but like pancake Sundays, where
Mhm.
like Sundays a day, we have pancakes as a family, we hang out, we do that. And like do like a Saturday night movie night where we all just kind of get together, maybe switch picking who picks what movie, and we all just hang out. I don't know if it'll work, but that's kind of my plan for now.
Yeah, it sounds great, and I think it's all doable. I can picture it all going down in your house and the movie night on Saturday and the like Pancake Sunday and things like that. I think what people probably run into is like they're just so massively busy with whatever else, and then that thing kind of takes precedence over what you'd hoped to do with the the
Yeah.
pancake sundae. But
Yeah.
I think you guys lifestyle, it's like out in the countryside, and you like, I don't know, just with your work schedule working from home, it seems like you can really set aside all that time and do exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to.
I'm trying to think of, I'm racking my brain for traditions that we had, and I guess we didn't have anything when I was growing up that was titled, like, that makes it leap out into my memory, or leap out from my memory. But we didn't have anything like, oh, it's board game night, or it's Saturday sandwich day, which would
Right.
be a pretty bad tradition. We just eat sandwiches on Saturdays.
It's the only day you can have sandwiches.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty strict. But yeah, we didn't have like named like big traditions that we got hyped about, but we certainly did things routinely. Like basketball was just massive in my house growing up.
Oh,
Like everybody played in one capacity or another. Everybody watched all levels of basketball. And there was a college team when I was growing up that was doing well at that time in the 90s in my hometown. And so it was like every single home game we would go, and you knew all the players by name, all that sort of thing. So I love basketball to this day, and maybe it's sort of a Kentucky thing culturally. We just absolutely love basketball. And there's a professional team in Ishikawa called the Kanazawa Samurais, and they play their games very near to where I live. Some of their home games, they have home games sort of dotted around Ishikawa, but they play a lot of their home games like just a 10-minute walk from my house. So I would love to get deep into and follow religiously the local basketball team. That would be a great thing to carry over.
is that like a professional level? What level do they play at?
In Japan, it's the top professional level for sure, but Japan is not like so robust with the basketball, and
Right, it's
so
more baseball
yeah,
culture
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. Baseball. I mean, they have some of the best players in the world. Typically, basketball is not like the hallmark of Japanese sports. So yeah, they have. I mean, they'll have a top level basketball team, but it's just not. It's nothing like the NBA, and they'll have like the games feel a bit more local. But yeah, the Kanazawa, it was a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, they started up a pro team called the Kanazawa Samurais.
Nice, great name.
Yeah, but I think something that I would like to do with the kid, and this is one of those things where just idealistically you set this out as a goal for yourself. I would love to have everything explained to the kid, like in sort of clear terms. Like, how kids ask a million questions,
Yeah,
and it's very
I'm actually
annoying.
looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am too at this point.
I
I'm
say
looking
I
forward
say
to that.
that now.
This is one that we'll look back on and like shake our heads like we were so naive. But it does seem like eventually you'll get overwhelmed by the crazy, crazy questions that kids ask. But
Right.
I remember being a kid and being full of questions, and then I just really wanted to know things, and really wanted to pick them apart. And it annoyed me if I ever asked an adult a question and they wouldn't like hold my hand and take me through the explanation. So if my
Yeah,
kid's
I
anything
agree.
like me, yeah, then I would like to explain things pretty fully. I don't know if that counts as a tradition, but it's something I would definitely like to do with the kid optimistically, which I'm sure will fall apart very quickly.
Yeah, I'd say it's optimistic, but I think it's doable as long as you
Yeah,
keep
for sure.
remembering.
Yeah, I remember I asked someone once when I was a kid, and I was, 6 or 7 years old. The question was, what if you had a car and there was an engine in the front that powered the front wheels, and an engine in the back that powered the back wheels? And so you had two different gas pedals and two different like brake pedals and everything. And then what if you ran the front?
It's a real high level question
It's a
for
high
a
level
6
question,
or
but
7-year-old.
this is the kind of stuff I wanted to know. What if you powered the front wheels, that engine and the front wheels on that gas pedal? What if you went 55 miles an hour? And then what if the other gas pedal and the rear wheels, you went 56 miles an hour? What would happen? And I remember I asked an adult this, and the adult said, "That's not how they make cars." And I was like, come on. But you see what I'm driving at, though. Like, what if you had this sort of setup? Would one set of wheels
Uh,
make the others go faster, or would the slower wheels, spin or something? Like, what would happen? And it just,
yeah.
I was really curious about this, and I never got a satisfactory answer. I really wanted one, and it was like an imaginative thing to think through that I couldn't solve for myself.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could give you the answer you want.
Yeah, but I would like to, ideally, because I know it frustrated me as a kid, I would like to indulge a kid in those questions if they
You
came
know
up.
you know what you need to do? You need to go to Elon Musk with that, and then he'll just make it.
Yeah, I need Musk to run one off for me. If they were still doing car talk, oh, there's a question for him.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, good questions.
That's a good tradition-ish thing to do, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, question time with dad. That could be a
Oh yeah,
nightly
that's good.
thing. What
Get some
question do you have
scotch.
for old dad? Yeah. Fire up my pipe, light a fire, get in the study, open the dictionary.
It's what every kid wants to do.
Yeah. And then the question will be, where do babies come from? And then we'll put out the pipe, extinguish the fire, walk away from it.
And to move on, I think the next question I had was posed to Twitter. For those parenting in Japan, what's something you wish you'd bought or done before they arrive? Or alternatively, what's something you bought or did that wasn't needed? And I did get a couple of responses to this, and they both revolved around clothing and not needing as much as they thought they did, because usually they got a lot of hand-me-downs and family bought stuff for them. Smith and Tanaka at Smith and Tanaka on Twitter wrote, half the clothes we bought were not needed. Lots of hand-me-downs from family and friends. And then the Bean Pod at T Bean Pod wrote, between hand-me-downs and gifts from grandparents, I don't think we've ever bought clothes for our kids.
Wow. That's reassuring.
Yeah. I mean, his grandparent or their grandparents are pretty generous, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like child's clothes are used for such a brief window. They fit into the clothes for a couple months and then you got to move on. And so
Yeah.
everybody's got a kid and everybody's just got all these extra clothes they need to get rid of at any given time. So
Yeah.
the hand-me-downs, the, Facebook market, or you hear about somebody's friend, has 100 baby items to get rid of. That seems to always be on the go. We put quite a lot of clothes on our Amazon registry just because it's an easy and cheapish thing if somebody doesn't want to spend a lot. We thought, oh yeah, clothing options, and they're $10, $15 or something. So
Ditto.
we've already got a little stream of clothes. Well, nothing's come in yet, but soon.
We did buy some stuff already. I think it's 3 months to 6 months range onesies that we bought. But I was really eager, and it had really cool designs to have to do with camping, and so I just couldn't resist.
Nice, yeah. If you want something cool like that, like your chess themed onesies,
Yeah.
your Rick and Morty onesie, you're gonna have to go and get those for yourself, probably.
Do you think they have Rick and Morty onesies?
They must have Rick and Morty onesies. The one I'm worried about is the chess themed onesie. I don't know if it's gonna be out there.
That might, no. There's got to be like a rook or something.
A little rook, a little pawn, maybe.
Yeah. There's got to be. I can see that. It's the Rick and Morty because they're like, I don't know. They're questionable sometimes.
Yeah, they are questionable, but that's half the fun, is something highly inappropriate on your baby who can't defend himself.
Who has no idea what you're doing to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, this is a little bit of a tangent, but, like as the kid grows up and gets into hobbies and things, you as the parent are a slave to those hobbies. And so if the kid we've got a good friend, this is also the proprietor of the Bean Pod. Our friend has a kid who was into soccer for a few years. And so it was just, all right, well, soccer practices, soccer games, got to buy all the stuff, got to drive all the kids. And that's your life now, because you don't want to stifle your kid's interest. But at the same time, now that's your, weekly, you're doing this errand many, many times and then watching like young kids soccer games and stuff. And so I was thinking, what's the easiest and the least like labor intensive hobby? It's got to be chess. Just let the kid get absorbed in the chessboard, buy him a few chess books, and he'll occupy himself for hours. So I was like, what if I could get some chess stuffed animals? Just imprint early, like a big soft, like stuffed rook and a knight and everything. Just surround the kid with those, get him off on the right foot. Couldn't find anything.
I agree with this concept. However, I would like to steer you away from it a little bit. Just from my own experience, when I was a kid, my dad loved golf, like loved it.
Oh yeah.
I can remember having a set of clubs, I think when I was in elementary school or before, that he personally made to my size. And I think because of that, I hated golf for like the first 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
Because like until I was a teenager, he would drag me to the driving range. It would just be like bucket of balls. And I was just like, there's so much stuff I would rather be doing. Like, I do not want to do this. And so I just refused to play forever. And so if you start going down that road, you may push them into the other feeling. of chess.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. To
So
be
I want to warn
fair,
you against that.
yeah, to be fair to the games, I mean, comparing golf and chess, I mean, golf is just the most boring thing, and then chess is a lifetime
Uh,
of
we just
of
lost two of our listeners.
oh, no. But, yeah, that's my, I don't have any real designs on this. I don't have any real, like, hope that it's gonna work, but I did
Yeah.
on the Amazon registry, I looked for, like, stuffed chess pieces, and they don't exist. It was just not out there, and I thought, "Come on, there's a market. You gotta open that up." We got the World
Yeah.
Chess Championship right around the corner. I think it's starting November 24th, so now is the time, FIDE.
Oh.
If anybody cares to learn about FIDE, the international chess body, they should start
You've
marketing
said
chess to
two things
kids.
I have no ideas about: the World Chess Tournament and a person named Fide.
FIDE, it's like FIFA or FIBA. FIDE.
Oh, it's not a person.
Yeah, yeah, it's the organization. It's the
I feel even
Fédération Internationale des Échecs, which
wow.
is the international chess body. Come on, FIDE, get on it. I need some stuffed animals for my kids.
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't have it yet.
Yeah, they should be there. Is that all from our social media interaction?
Yeah. I did post another question that maybe I'll pose here because this is a topic I'm actually really curious about. So if anybody has any information on this, I'd be really interested to hear from you. And that question is: has anyone taught their kids baby sign language in Japan? And how did it go? So far, I haven't heard any responses and don't know anybody who's done that. But it's something that I've definitely been interested in, and I'm eager to find out how to do it.
Yeah, cool. The baby sign language game. That's interesting to me. I don't foresee myself going down the baby sign language road, but it's very interesting, and I know people who have done it. So yeah, I would love to hear more opinions.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting because they say that kids who learn just even a little bit of sign language before they learn how to speak are more communicative when they get older,
Mm.
and they're less likely to be like shy or like introverted in some areas. And on a side note, not related to babies, I did teach my dog some sign language when I was training her. And so I
Mm.
know it's pretty easy to do. If my dog can pick up some hand signals, then I'm pretty sure my baby should be okay with it.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the mats where the dogs can push different buttons and then it speaks?
I
And
have.
it's kind of a plasticky device, and yeah, that's not good. Remember Congo? Amy, pretty gorilla. That's your dog could be like
I thought
Isla,
that was
pretty
the
dog.
greatest movie when that came out. I I
Yeah.
really did. I love that movie. It was so sad.
Congo was solid in the 90s for sure. But I picture
Yeah.
your dog Isla just commenting on how beautiful she is all the time. Just touching the
Yeah.
same buttons over again.
All she's doing, feed me, feed me, feed
Feed
me.
me. I'm beautiful. Feed me. And then there's a broken like sign language pad out in the front yard.
It would just be burned in my fireplace.
Yeah. Let's get on into our Japanese of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got something interesting today, don't you?
Yeah, I will be reading a note from a Japanese textbook. This book is called Yokoso, which means welcome. It's an invitation to contemporary Japanese. I think this book came out in like 99 or something. It's a bit of an old, like 500-page hardcover textbook, as you might see in a school. And there's a note on talking about fathers in Japanese, so I thought I would read this note. And it's pretty good, this to explain, like, if you're unfamiliar with Japanese, there are levels of respect that get layered into everything that you might want to say. And so this is kind of indicative of that. Anyway, the My Father, Your Father note from page 339 of the Yokoso textbook. It says, in Japanese, there are at least 2 words for identifying each family member or relative, 1 word for identifying your own family member or relative, and another for identifying someone else's. For example, Chichi refers to the speaker's own father. So Chichi, this is a bit of good Japanese. And Otosan refers to someone else's father. So Chichi means your own father. Otosan means someone else's father.
But otosan can also mean your own father.
Well, this is why Japanese is so complicated, I think. It says Chichi is humble, while Otosan is respectful. So the word Otosan, that O in the beginning is one of the common sort of prefixes they put on a word to make it respectful. It said you would never call someone else's father Chichi. So it is
Right.
redundant. It's redundant to say Watashi no Chichi, like my father. You wouldn't need the my because it's already humble, so people know it's your own father.
Right.
Similarly, when asking someone about his or her father, just use otosan. In that context, it would mean your father. You don't have to say the your because it's already respectful, so you know it's for someone else. These two sets of terms for family members reflect the careful distinction between in-group and out-group in Japanese language and society. So if we just read this note, you would assume that you would call, I'm going to call my father Chichi, and I'll call someone else's father Otosan. But in practice, it actually doesn't work like that at all, because
Right.
I know my wife calls her father Otosan. And
Yeah.
the reason she does this is because within the family, the father deserves the respect, the filial piety, I think they call it. And so you would call your own father to his face, call him Otosan to show that you're showing some respect to him. But then if you're talking about him to someone else, then it's like, oh, in my family, I'm going to lower us down a bit, so I'll call him Chichi to this other person.
Right.
And that is what makes Japanese, that's like a little sliver of a window into why Japanese, in my mind, is like on Star Trek when they play the three-dimensional chess with all these boards hovering above one another. And other languages are just checkers. And Japanese has all these levels of respect. And depending on who you're talking to, who you're talking about, what's the context, you'll need to choose all of the words very carefully.
Yeah, it's quite infuriating sometimes to deal with that stuff and think you
So
have
hard
the
to
right
learn.
thing, and then you're just like slapped in the face again with the wrong
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. I used the right word, but I didn't gauge the situation in the right way, and I've made a
Yeah.
fool of myself.
Are you gonna go with dad or pop or papa? What are your plans for, whatever you want your kid to call you?
I haven't landed on anything yet. This my father, your father lesson from the textbook is just like the tip of the iceberg, because young children, it's just difficult to say "otosan," when you're a few months old. So
Right.
young children tend to say "papa" and "mama," and those are the
Mm,
words that a child would use. But then at some point in a kid's life, they must transition from "papa" into "otosan" when they can say it. So I don't know how that works, but I don't like the otosan because I don't like sort of reinforcing this, like, well, give me the respectful title, son. Like I
right.
just don't want that to be the norm in the household.
Yeah.
It'll be a bit weird if I just go straight Justin. Don't want the kid to call me Justin, I guess. And then Papa is not something I've used before, but I could see myself defaulting into that. I mean, you've got Papa Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway was called Papa, so I could take pride in that. So I've got the same nickname as Hemingway. That would be good. But
Huh.
I haven't landed on anything in particular, is what I mean to say. Do you have anything that you would like to be called?
I don't know. I don't have a preference. I definitely have things I don't like.
Mm.
Otosan for sure. Chi-Chi.
Uh-huh.
And Papa. I feel like Papa is more a grandfather term.
Yeah.
Maybe because I knew a couple grandfathers named Papa, and so
Yeah.
that's always stuck. I've never known a dad named Papa.
Yeah. I feel like the kid is going to be like the overwhelming influence on the kid in Japan is all of the people speaking Japanese around the kid. And all of those people are going to say, like, oh, that's your papa. That's your papa. And I think, all of the Japanese family members will probably reinforce the papa thing. So I bet papa is like at least half unavoidable. It's going to be out there a lot.
I don't think
And
so, because I'll
oh,
be
yeah.
sure to have a talk with some of them.
Yeah, you'll set them straight on the papa business. But you would have to stake a claim there and say, I want to be called this. And
Yeah, I might have to put my foot down. But it's
yeah,
kind of the same in English where, like, when the kid's like talking to somebody, they're like, "Oh, who's your father? Who's your father?" No kid goes home and says, "Hey, father."
yeah,
Like, that sounds weird. So
yeah,
it might just be one of those things where they learn, like, "Oh, this is what other people call you, but I don't have to call you that."
yeah. It's a tricky business, this naming, and it's
Yeah.
one of those things that's probably good to decide and then come out strong and then hope everybody falls in line.
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot, like nicknames in that in general. Like if I have a boy, like I'm probably gonna call him dude or little dude.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's just inevitable. Like, I don't,
Dude, yeah.
and so I'm half expecting them whenever they're old enough to just call me dude at some point.
Man,
And I'm kind of okay with that. Like if they just want to call me dude, I'm okay.
that's a very like chill Big Lebowski attitude to take to the
I may have
the
to start drinking White Russians, but they are a little too sweet for me.
yeah. If you can water down a White Russian, you'll be well on your way.
I got a sweet rug though.
It ties the room together. I know that rug. Yeah, it's a tough one. I need to land on something. But ultimately, I'm like 60% happy with Papa. Then the issue is going to be if we go with Papa, then I'll have like a 14-year-old at some point calling me Papa, and everybody will make fun of him. So that's trouble.
Maybe, yeah. They'd probably just shorten it to Pa.
Or Pop.
Sounds very Kentucky-ish, at least from my perspective.
Oh, yeah. It's extremely Kentucky-ish. It's like countryside in the 1940s, Kentucky-ish. Pa.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I might, I don't know. I'll have to make a decision. I'll have to make a firm decision. But for now, I'm good with Papa, I think.
Right. Yeah, we got some time.
Well, that's Japanese of the day.
Yeah, and I think that about wraps up our episode for today, too.
Yes, sir.
Unless you have any last-minute things?
No, I am A-okay.
Yeah, so with that, I'd just like to say thanks to Smith and Tanaka on Twitter at Smith and Tanaka for answering our question, and the Bean Pod at TBeanPod for also answering our question. And if anybody else has any questions or comments they'd like to send us on Twitter, you can do so at JPops Podcast, and we'll answer you or feature those in one of our episodes.
Yeah, thanks for the interaction. That's what we're really looking forward to with all this. If we can get some questions out there and get some answers. I mean, yeah, we're of course not the best to give advice because we haven't been through the whole parenting thing yet, but it was really interesting to me to hear, oh yeah, the clothes are going to come flooding in. Don't even buy the clothes. That's good practical advice. So I'm glad people chimed in on Twitter. So do more of that, everybody.
And if you're not on Twitter, send us an email, info@thejpops.com.
All right. That about does it. So thanks, everybody.
Yep. Have a good one.
Later.